In the last few days, a story spread across social media so fast that it felt like a breaking emergency. People in Nairobi started sharing posts claiming that an unusual surge of mosquitoes was not natural. According to these posts, the mosquitoes were supposedly released from a laboratory, and the name connected to this claim was one of the biggest and most controversial names on the internet, the Gates Foundation. The posts did not only claim that mosquitoes were released. Many posts went further. They suggested the mosquitoes were genetically modified. Some posts implied the mosquitoes were part of a hidden experiment. Others claimed they were designed to harm people. And a few posts even described the situation like a horror movie, saying the mosquitoes were biting aggressively, targeting children, and spreading fear in families. Now, whether you support Bill Gates or you dislike him, you must admit one thing. When a story combines mosquitoes plus Africa plus a famous billionaire plus a lab, it becomes the perfect fuel for viral panic. Because mosquitoes are not just annoying insects. They represent disease. They represent malaria. They represent fear. And that is why this story became explosive. Here's the reality: most people don't believe stories like this because they are stupid. They believe because the story matches something they already fear. For many years, people have heard about scientists working on genetically modified mosquitoes to fight malaria. This is not a conspiracy. It is real science. It has been discussed openly in research papers, public health debates, and even documentaries. So when people see a sudden mosquito surge, their brain connects the dots quickly. There is mosquito research in Africa. There are rich global foundations funding research. There are labs. Therefore, a lab must have released something. This is how human psychology works. When people don't have full information, they fill the gaps with the most emotional explanation. And mosquitoes are emotional because they are linked to death. Malaria has killed millions historically. Even today, malaria remains one of the biggest health threats in parts of Africa. So when people hear mosquito release, they don't think of science first. They think of danger first. Now, the most important thing we must ask is, what evidence did the viral posts show? In most cases, that evidence was screenshots, angry captions, short videos of mosquitoes, claims without sources, assumptions based on the existence of labs. But here is the problem. A mosquito video proves only one thing: that mosquitoes exist. It does not prove who released them, where they came from, whether they are modified, whether they are linked to any foundation. In fact, in many cities, mosquito populations increase suddenly for very normal reasons. Rainfall patterns, temperature changes, blocked drains, standing water, poor waste management, seasonal breeding cycles. And Nairobi is not immune to those environmental factors. So at this stage of the story, we have something important. A viral claim. Fear. A real mosquito problem. But we still do not have proof. Soon after the claims spread, the Gates Foundation responded publicly and denied the allegations. They said clearly, they did not release mosquitoes in Nairobi. They do not operate a mosquito release program there. They do not run a lab that releases mosquitoes. Now, many people heard this denial and said, of course they denied it. What else would they say? And that reaction is understandable. Because here is the truth. In the modern world, official denials are not enough to convince people anymore. People want proof, transparency, explanation, and most importantly, context. And that brings us to the real question. If the Gates Foundation says it did not release mosquitoes, then why are people talking about a lab? What lab are they referring to? And what is mosquito research in Kenya actually doing? Because that is where the real story begins. So in part 2, we will do what social media usually does not do. We will slow down and investigate what the Gates Foundation actually said. What mosquito research programs exist in Africa? And what is the difference between funding research and secretly releasing insects? Because once you understand that difference, you'll see why this story went viral. And why the truth is more complex than both sides are claiming. After the mosquito claims spread online, the Gates Foundation responded publicly and clearly. Their message was essentially, "We did not release mosquitoes in Nairobi. We do not run mosquito release operations. We do not operate labs that breed and release mosquitoes. We support health programs through funding and partnerships, not secret experiments." This was not a vague statement. It was a direct denial. Now, the question is, does a denial automatically mean the rumor is false? Not always. But a denial forces us to do something that many people avoid. Check what is verifiable and separate assumptions from facts. This story is a perfect example of how misinformation works. Because the claim mixes three different things and makes them sound like one. 1. The Gates Foundation funds malaria research. 2. Mosquito research labs exist in Africa. 3. Some mosquito research involves genetics. All three are true. But the viral claim jumps to a fourth conclusion. Therefore, Gates Foundation released mosquitoes in Nairobi. That last step is not evidence. That is speculation. And speculation becomes truth when repeated enough times. This part is very important for your audience. The Gates Foundation is not a government. It is not a laboratory. It is not a mosquito control department. What it mostly does is fund public health programs, support vaccine research, support malaria prevention tools, fund scientific projects, support local partnerships with universities and health organizations. This is how global health funding works. The foundation may support bed net distribution, malaria medicine access, diagnostics, vaccine development, research projects at universities. But funding research is not the same thing as running secret mosquito releases. If you donate money to a hospital, you are not personally performing surgeries. Now we come to the biggest part of the controversy. People keep saying, there is a Gates lab in Nairobi. Here is the reality. The Gates Foundation does have a presence in Africa, including offices and partnerships. But that does not mean it owns a mosquito lab in Nairobi that releases insects. In most cases, what people call a Gates lab is actually a university lab, a research institute, a government-supported facility, or a partnership lab that receives grants. And when a lab receives funding, people on social media label it like this: Gates Lab. But funding is not equal to ownership. Funding is not equal to control. Funding is not equal to secret operations. Let's talk reality. If anyone releases mosquitoes, modified or not, it is not something you can hide easily. A mosquito release program requires ethical approvals, biosafety review, government permissions, scientific documentation, monitoring systems, public communication, community engagement. Because if something goes wrong, the public health consequences could be huge. Even small research releases are done in stages: lab containment, controlled field trials, monitoring, published results. So the idea of a huge mosquito release in Nairobi, secretly, without any government agency involved, is not realistic. That's not how science works. That's not how regulation works. And that's not how public health works. This is where we stay grounded. A mosquito surge in a major city like Nairobi can happen for common reasons: rainfall and humidity, temperature changes, poor drainage systems, standing water near homes, clogged gutters, construction sites collecting water, waste in open water containers. Mosquitoes are nature's fastest breeders. If the environment becomes slightly favorable, they explode in numbers. And when that happens, people naturally look for someone to blame. So at this point, we have two realities. The viral claim says, mosquitoes were released by Gates. The Gates Foundation says, we did not release anything. Now we reach the most important part of this entire story. Even if no one released mosquitoes in Nairobi, what is mosquito research actually doing in Africa? What is gene drive? What does genetically modified mosquitoes really mean? Because part 3 will explain the science simply, clearly, and without fear. When people hear the words genetically modified mosquitoes, most imagine something like this. A scientist creates a dangerous insect in a lab, then releases it into the city, and people become test subjects. That is the movie version. The real science is very different. In real mosquito research, the goal is usually the opposite. Backhand index pointing right to reduce disease, not increase it. Backhand index pointing right to stop malaria, not spread it. So before anyone panics, we must understand the actual science. Mosquitoes are not dangerous because they bite. They are dangerous because they transmit disease. Malaria is caused by a parasite called Plasmodium. That parasite is carried mainly by Anopheles mosquitoes. When an infected mosquito bites a human, it transfers the parasite into the bloodstream. So the real killer is not the mosquito itself, it's what the mosquito carries. And that is why malaria control is mostly about stopping mosquitoes from biting, stopping mosquitoes from breeding, stopping the parasite from spreading. Now the old methods include bed nets, indoor spraying, drainage improvements, medicine, testing and treatment. But mosquitoes adapt. Some become resistant to insecticides. Some change their behavior. Some bite outdoors instead of indoors. So scientists began exploring advanced strategies. When you hear about mosquito labs, they are usually working on one of these three categories. White heavy checkmark 1, mosquito population reduction. This means reducing the number of mosquitoes that can transmit malaria. This can be done by sterilizing male mosquitoes, releasing sterile males so females lay eggs that never hatch, reducing future mosquito generations. Important detail: male mosquitoes do not bite humans. Only females bite, because they need blood to develop eggs. So many strategies involve releasing only male mosquitoes. Underscore 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 underscore. White heavy checkmark 2, mosquito population replacement. This is different. Instead of killing mosquitoes, scientists aim to replace dangerous mosquitoes with mosquitoes that cannot carry malaria. For example, mosquitoes that cannot host the malaria parasite. Mosquitoes that block parasite development. This is still experimental. Underscore 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 underscore. White heavy checkmark 3, gene drive technology, the most controversial. Now we come to the famous term, gene drive. This is the word that makes the internet explode. Gene drive is a genetic method that forces a gene to spread through a population faster than normal inheritance. Normally, a parent passes a gene to about 50% of offspring. Gene drive can push it to 90% or more. Meaning, a genetic change can spread through mosquito populations rapidly. This is why people fear it. Because it sounds like, once released, it cannot be stopped. That fear is not completely irrational, it's why gene drive research is treated with extreme caution. But caution does not mean secret experiments. It means strict lab containment, phased trials, long-term monitoring, public engagement, and government approval. This is where we must be very clear. White heavy checkmark: there is no verified evidence that gene-drive mosquitoes were released in Nairobi. And even globally, gene drive is still in research phases. Most of this work happens in contained labs, controlled environments, and highly regulated pilot trials, if any. So the idea that Nairobi's mosquito surge is because of gene drive release is not supported by evidence. Now, let's be honest. People feel suspicious because they have heard these things before. Secret experiments, unethical trials, colonial history, foreign organizations doing work in Africa, lack of transparency. These concerns are real in a historical sense. But here is the key point. Backhand index pointing right: suspicion is not proof. And fear does not equal facts. The correct approach is: demand transparency, ask for official documentation, verify claims, and learn the science properly. Not spread panic. Mosquito labs are not like horror movie labs. They are usually boring, controlled, and strict. They work with mosquito cages, controlled breeding, microscopes, genetic testing, parasite studies, disease transmission models. They are monitored because mosquitoes are a biosecurity risk. So if a lab exists in Nairobi or Kenya, it most likely focuses on malaria research, mosquito biology, prevention methods, and public health support. Not secret releases into the city. So now we understand something important. Yes, mosquito genetic research exists. Yes, funding exists. Yes, labs exist. But that still does not explain why people are talking about a lab in Nairobi. So in part 4, we will answer the biggest question people keep asking. What lab are they talking about? What does it do? And how do mosquito research facilities actually operate in Africa? Let's address the most repeated phrase in this controversy. Gates has a mosquito lab in Nairobi. This is where many people get trapped. Because on the internet, people often simplify complicated systems into one sentence. A lab gets funding, it's Gates' lab. A project has donors, it's controlled by donors. A scientist works with grants, they work for Gates. But this is not how real research works. In global health, funding often comes from governments, universities, NGOs, public institutions, private foundations. And the same project may receive funding from multiple sources. So calling a lab Gates lab is usually a social media shortcut, not a legal fact. In Kenya, mosquito and malaria research is commonly connected to universities, public health research institutes, medical research programs, international collaborations, government-linked health organizations. Kenya has a long history of malaria research, because malaria is a real problem. So it is completely normal for Kenya to have labs that study mosquito species, disease transmission, malaria parasites, insecticide resistance, climate effects on mosquito populations, new prevention tools. This is public health science. And public health science is not a conspiracy. To make this clear for your viewers, here's what a mosquito lab actually does day to day. Test tube 1, mosquito identification. Not all mosquitoes transmit malaria. A lab may capture mosquitoes from different areas and identify species, breeding habits, biting behavior, disease-carrying potential. This helps governments understand which mosquito is spreading what disease. Labs test mosquitoes for malaria parasites, dengue viruses, Chikungunya. Other pathogens. This is surveillance. Mosquito genetics is studied for reasons like why some mosquitoes resist insecticides, why some bite more aggressively, how populations spread geographically, how malaria parasite evolves. This genetic work is often what causes fear online. But genetic study does not automatically mean gene drive release. Some labs also support government malaria programs, field monitoring, training health workers, evaluating prevention tools. So the lab is often a support system for the country. Now we must address a key point. If people are claiming mosquitoes were released from a lab, we must ask, could mosquitoes realistically escape from a research facility? In high-standard labs, mosquito containment includes sealed rooms, air curtains, double doors, mesh screens, insect traps, controlled waste disposal, strict cage handling protocols. Because researchers understand, if mosquitoes escape, it destroys the research and creates risk. Now, no system is perfect. But the idea of mass mosquitoes escaping into a city is not realistic. Mosquitoes are fragile. If they escaped, most would die quickly unless the environment outside was already favorable. So again, if Nairobi has many mosquitoes, the most likely reason is environmental breeding, not lab release. This is the most logical explanation, and it is important to say clearly. Mosquito populations can explode in cities due to seasonal rainfall, rising temperatures, humidity, standing water in drains, uncovered water storage containers, construction sites, blocked sewage systems, garbage buildup, and one major factor many people ignore. Urban mosquito breeding is often man-made. Mosquitoes love old tires filled with water, buckets, rooftop water tanks, open drains, puddles in construction areas. So the mosquito surge can happen without any lab involvement. Instead of asking, crossmark, did Gates release mosquitoes? People should ask, white heavy checkmark, why are mosquito breeding conditions increasing in Nairobi? White heavy checkmark, what is the city doing about drainage and waste? White heavy checkmark, what mosquito species are increasing? White heavy checkmark, is malaria risk rising? White heavy checkmark, what prevention measures should people take now? These are real questions that protect people. Because even if the rumor is false, the mosquitoes are real. And mosquitoes do not care about conspiracy theories. So here is where we stand. The viral claim is not backed by evidence. The Gates Foundation denied releasing mosquitoes. Mosquito research labs exist, but that does not mean secret releases. The mosquito surge is most likely linked to environmental conditions. Now in part 5, the final part, we will bring everything together. What is the reality? What should people believe? And what is the smart response for citizens? Let's end this story the right way, with facts. Here is what is verified. 1. Social media posts claimed that mosquitoes were released in Nairobi from a lab linked to the Gates Foundation. 2. The Gates Foundation publicly denied the claim and said it does not release mosquitoes in Kenya. 3. There is no verified public evidence proving a secret mosquito release in Nairobi. 4. Mosquito research and malaria research in Africa is real and is done by universities, institutes, and collaborations under regulation. So the most honest conclusion is, backhand index pointing right, this story is a viral claim with fear, but without proof. This rumor did not become viral because it was well researched. It became viral because it hit 4 emotional triggers. 1. Mosquitoes. People fear mosquitoes because of malaria and disease. 2. A lab. People fear labs because they imagine secret experiments. 3. Genetics. People fear genetics because it sounds like humans playing God. 4. Bill Gates. People fear Bill Gates because he is already a global conspiracy target. So this rumor was not just a rumor. It was a perfect viral combination. Now let's say the truth in the simplest form. Nairobi's mosquito increase is most likely due to rainfall and humidity, standing water in drains and containers, seasonal breeding cycles, urban waste and blocked drainage, climate conditions becoming more favorable. This explanation is boring. But boring explanations are often the correct ones. And here's the hard truth. If mosquitoes are increasing, blaming a billionaire does not stop them. Only mosquito control stops them. Now, let's talk about the bigger picture. Mosquito research is not evil. Malaria has killed millions. So it is normal for scientists to explore advanced tools like sterile male releases, genetics research, new insecticides, vaccines, gene drive research. But the key is, science must be transparent and regulated. People have a right to ask questions. People have a right to demand public information, community engagement, government oversight, ethical approvals. But there is a difference between white heavy checkmark asking for transparency and crossmark spreading panic without evidence. This is the practical part. Whether the rumor is false or not, mosquitoes are still biting. So the best response is prevention. Remove standing water around homes. Cover water tanks and buckets. Clean gutters and drains. Use mosquito nets. Use repellents. Use window screens. Seek medical testing quickly if fever appears. Because malaria and other mosquito-borne diseases become dangerous when people delay treatment. This is where the focus should be. Health and action, not viral blame. Let's end with a powerful message your viewers will remember. Mosquitoes do not need a conspiracy to spread. They only need water, warmth, and neglect. So yes, people should question powerful organizations. But people should also question misinformation. Because in the end, fear spreads faster than mosquitoes. And when fear spreads, it can destroy trust in real health programs, the same programs that save lives. So the final truth is simple. The allegations are viral. The denial is official. The evidence for a secret release is missing. The mosquito problem is real and it requires real public health solutions.
Subscribe Info Beyond Borders now for more mind-blowing knowledge.